One of the worst downsides of a low carb diet for men is that it'll cause testosterone levels to go down over time. So, could the low carb advocates raise their testosterone levels if they started eating healthy carbs? I think so. Low carb diets have been popular for over 25 years because they help people lose a lot of weight. Whether it's a generic low carb diet, the ketogenic diet, the carnivore diet, they're all effective for losing weight, and they can even help cure some people's health problems that are caused by excess glucose and insulin resistance. But there are problems and some very real dangers with low carb diets for a lot of people who stay on them long term. In fact, if you stay on a low carb diet for too long, you can actually wreck your health. So, how can I say that low carb diets that help people so much can also wreck your health? Well, any kind of extreme diet isn't sustainable in the long term, even though it could be beneficial to your health in the short term. And I do consider removing an entire macronutrient from your diet to be extreme. I think of low carb diets as a form of medicine, and medicine is supposed to be temporary. You only take medicine for a short time to help cure an illness, and I think that same principle should apply to low carb diets. Now, I know that low carb influencers will tell you that all carbs are bad, all carbs are toxic, all carbs are giving you insulin resistance and killing you, but it's just not true. The carbs that are a problem are the ones that have almost no micronutrients and they contain a lot of inflammatory compounds. These are things like processed sugar, corn syrup, pretty much all grains, especially wheat and corn, and all of the processed foods that are made from them, like bread, pasta, tortilla chips, all those really delicious and addictive foods. The main reason that people cure so many ailments on low carb diets is that they completely stop eating those low quality inflammatory carbohydrates that are a staple of the standard American diet. But you can get all the health benefits of avoiding those low quality inflammatory carbs while not having to deal with the downsides and dangers of a low carb diet. What are those downsides? Well, one of the major ones is that for most people, their metabolism will start to slow down after eating low carb for a while. This is because a lack of glucose leads to a downregulation of thyroid hormone output. So people with thyroid issues definitely should not go on a low carb diet. And this metabolic slowdown is inevitable on a low carb diet. Even though there are people who seem to be thriving on low carbs long term, they're in the minority. They're the outliers. For most people, these diets need to be done short term and done with a lot of awareness. Another problem that people encounter on low carb diets is a drop in their energy levels. Of course, the low carb advocates say that once you become fat adapted, then you get all your energy back. You feel great, you'll feel better than ever. But a lot of that energy is coming from what are called catecholamines. And these are hormones like adrenaline and other stress hormones that are produced in your body in times of stress. And famine is a stress to the body. That's right. Not having any carbs in your diet is perceived by your body as a form of famine. Even though you're feeding your body a lot of fat and protein, it still doesn't have carbohydrates, so it doesn't have glucose available. To deal with a low carb diet, the body has to work to make its own glucose from protein, a process called gluconeogenesis, which just means creating new glucose. Your body does that by breaking down your muscle tissue and turning that protein into glucose. Or if there's enough protein in your diet, it'll use some of that protein to create glucose. Your body does that by breaking down your muscle tissue and turning the protein from your muscles into glucose. Or if there's enough protein in your diet, it'll use some of that protein to create that glucose that it needs. This is a temporary workaround that your body does to survive the absence of carbs, but it's a process that can potentially cause a loss of your precious muscle tissue. Another issue is that people on low carb diets will tend to pee out a lot of important minerals like potassium, which is a known side effect of not eating carbs. So if you do go on a low carb diet, make sure that you're eating enough potassium, and probably you'll need to take a potassium supplement. One of the worst downsides of a low carb diet for men is that it'll cause testosterone levels to go down over time. So long term, a low carb diet for most men will lead to low testosterone. And again, I know there are men who are on low carb diets long term and their testosterone levels are still okay. But when the prominent low carb advocates share their blood work online, none of them have great testosterone levels. And in fact, some of them are very low, down in the mid to low 300 nanogram per deciliter range. I'm not going to name those guys because this isn't about putting anyone down. I'm just stating the facts as I know them. Now, I'm going to take a moment here to brag that last year my testosterone level was 1,040 nanograms per deciliter. And this year it's at 1,196 nanograms per deciliter. So basically 1,200. So I jumped up 150 points in a year's time, and I eat plenty of carbs every single day. So, could the low carb advocates raise their testosterone levels if they started eating healthy carbs? I think so. Now, I want to be fair and talk about the positives of low carb diets. Like I mentioned, they can help people to heal from various diseases and inflammatory conditions. They also help people lose a lot of fat, at least until their metabolism slows down because of that lack of carbs. But there's still a period of 2 or 3 months where a person can lose quite a bit of fat on a low carb diet. Eventually, that fat loss is going to stall out, and at that point, it's time to reintroduce healthy, nutrient dense carbs into your diet. What you don't want to do is to go back to low nutrient inflammatory carbs like wheat, corn, processed sugar, and corn syrup. You want nutrient dense carbs like organic fruit, sweet potatoes, squashes, and raw honey. If you eat those kind of nutrient dense carbs along with high quality animal based protein and fat, you can get all of the health benefits of low carb diets without the downsides. Now, of course, there's a lot more to the topic of how to eat for high testosterone levels. So I go into a deep dive on nutrition on day 1 of my Double Your Testosterone program. If you want more information on that, click the link in the description below. That's it for this video. If you liked it, click like, subscribe, leave a comment, and click the bell icon to be notified when I upload new videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.